Hello and welcome to episode number 6, part 2 of the Miserable Metal Mind podcast, a Christmas special. This is a podcast where myself, Thrash Tash Boland, and Paul the Machine Hutchins try to cheer up Simon, the Miserable Metal Mind, with recent metal music. This is the second part of our Christmas top 5 selection. We are joined by the legendary Monster Shop podcast. Last time we did myself's and Chris's from the Monster Shop's top 5, and this time we will take a look at Paul, the Miserable Metal Mind, and Neil from Monster Shop's top 5s. Plus Chris's number 1, which was lost in the podcast ether from our last recording. But first of all, Merry Christmas, everybody, and how are we?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We're good. We're cold, aren't we? It's 11.
cold.
It's 11 degrees in here. It's
Yep.
too cold.
Yeah.
That's warm.
Wow.
It-
the
it-
heat's
yeah,
on.
yeah.
It's gone to 12 yet.
It's almost big coat.
It's a
We're on
heat wave.
12. We've gone to 12.
Big coat weather.
Yeah.
It's a heat wave round here.
You're not that much further.
Up at Wigan.
You're not that much further north than we are you?
No. Well, just that much tougher.
We do.
Did you just say that?
It's true. We do whinge a lot, don't we?
No. No, we don't.
A lot of whinging.
We've got a show based on that.
You do. Yeah, you've turned it into an art form. Turned it into an art form.
Yeah, we've been all right this
Right.
end. Have you guys been all right?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Great
Yep,
Christmas.
Yep, just got over the cold. We're almost fighting fit, so I might even start doing some exercise next week.
Oh, get in.
Woohoo.
I'm thinking about it, but that's the first step.
Any New Year's resolutions? I hate New Year's resolutions. Anyone-
Yeah, I
Nah.
don't.
I-
No.
I don't.
Try and be more miserable.
Try and be more miserable. Is there a scale? How do you measure miserableness?
No idea. But I'm going to try and just.
Who's your
go
benchmark,
down,
Simon?
down.
Who's your benchmark?
What for being miserable?
Jack,
Yeah, would you want to live up to?
That's a good question.
Is it from
don't
like the
know.
Grinch all the way up to Morrissey?
I
Is that
liked. I saw.
Is Morrissey miserable or just depressing? Or do they just go hand in hand?
There's a brilliant clip I saw this week with Jack
by all
D.
accounts.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Oh.
Oh, so there was a brilliant clip with Jack D, and he says, and they were all talking about Christmas, and he said, I love Christmas. And they were saying, what, you're really miserable. What do you like about Christmas? And he said, well, at Christmas, everybody's so merry, and it's so much easier to bring them down. He said- and I liked that. I do like Jack D. He's
I
very
liked
funny.
it. I saw him live actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you touch him?
No, I didn't touch him. Weren't that close. But he was very good. Very funny.
I bet you wanted to touch him.
I wanted to touch him. Yeah.
What did he smell like?
What's the stuff? What's that stuff called? Lavender.
Lavender?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
Smell like lavender.
Wouldn't have
I
expected.
made that up.
Wouldn't have expected that.
Well, if it
Pretty
was
close
recently
to
what?
lad, I think.
Lord.
Shall we get on with something? I don't know what's going on.
Let's get on. So yes, the last podcast we finished on just before Chris's number 1. So we will, start with Tesseract.
Tesseract, the War of Being.
Yeah. Oh, what? Well, where do you start? We start at the beginning of a 13.5-minute epic, don't you? That's where you start. The thing with that for me is that Tesseract are a band that for a long time I'd wanted to understand a bit better than I did. They were proggy, they were good, they were all very technical musicians, and I really wanted to like it. There were a lot of people that said, you should really listen to Tesseract. You know, this is a band that you will love. And I listened to it and went, yeah, it's all right, but nothing really grasped me, you know, like wholesale. And then this thing came along and absolutely blew my head off. It was absolutely amazing. From start to finish, the record was a journey all the way through. It was the first thing I heard was the single itself, of the name of the title of the band of the album, and then from there, it I just got more and more into that, and then the album dropped, and it was just that really. It was like the Sleep Token thing for me. It was just a journey all the way through from start to finish.
I remember where you'd gone and you were playing a wedding or something that was like in a different country, and you'd driven there, and you were. And I remember you driven back at like 3 a.m. or
That's
whatever.
right, yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I saw you the next day, and you were like, I just listened to Tesseract on repeat. And then it was really, you were just like, I get it there. That I absolutely love them.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? I think where it's, sometimes like I've always really liked Tesseract, but again, similarly, there's nothing that's really grabbed me, and I've thought it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
But I really fell in love with this album. They're from Milton Keynes, which is a bit weird. But,
why is that weird?
have you been to Milton Keynes?
I have.
It's a weird. It's not a metal. It just isn't. It shouldn't sound like the Milton Keynes does not sound like that. Some places you think like Birmingham, you think, it sounds like Black Sabbath, and that there are some places where you think that the bands and their music from there, like Manchester, you kind of think, I know what Manchester sounds like.
You don't expect Milton Keynes. Well, they are Marshall based in Milton Keynes.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are. But yeah, no, I really like this album as well. I thought it was really cool, and I don't know. I think there is a certain shift in their sound, I think, from previous albums. But yeah, it's just Tesseract, but a bit better than previous albums. I think I really like it.
I used to listen to Altered State quite a bit. I'm not a massive fan, but that album did actually grab me. I saw them at Sonosphere, and that kind of pulled me in as well. Yeah, they were very, very good. But yeah, I don't mind this album. It's not exactly my kind of thing, but yeah, I quite like it. You've got to appreciate the talent that's in there. Definitely.
I think there is a lot of twiddling. The kind of it reminds me a little bit like Porcupine Tree. Steve Wilson will do this stuff where there's just some incredibly clever bits in there, and I think sometimes it's clever for clever's sake.
Yeah.
And sometimes it adds to the song.
Yeah.
I think we spoke on the last show when we talked. I don't know whether it was one of the bits that got cut, but I think we were talking about Tool and the way they do the same kind of stuff, I think, but it's like a more melodic edge to it, a more melodic style to what they've got. But I think there's a limit to how you can push that cleverness too far, and then it just becomes like twiddling.
Yeah, you see, the other thing is, I speak about this on the show quite a lot when we talk about music, but I love the music that I don't understand. So this like there's stuff where I can, I'll pick apart chord sequences and understand the production and understand everything that's going on, and it kind of takes away a little bit of that magic of just experiencing music for the sake of experiencing music. And when you get something like this, where it's actually, you're not sitting there counting the beats in the bar and thinking about phrases and thinking about keys and signatures and all that, and you can just roll with it. I think that's something for me that I really love.
Do you do that with all albums as well, Chris?
I can't help it. It's because I
look at it from that angle.
Yeah, I kind of, because I write stuff and listen to stuff. I'm constantly listening to it with almost like the ear that I listen to it to isn't one for entertainment. It's for kind of picking it apart.
Yeah,
and, all that.
Analytical.
That's it. That's the word I was thinking of.
So, what about you, Paul? What are your thoughts on Tesseract?
I think I said last time it's really interesting, this album. But the one thing I'll say is that since I played it, I haven't gone back to it. And I think I talked about it last time, the fact that I'd seen them live a few years ago, and they weren't particularly exciting for me. Having said that, this is an album that I was quite comfortable listening to. Although I might change my mind after the mug I've just seen. It was fine, but not an album that I've gone back to. So I would be quite happy to listen to it again. And I think they're one of those bands that I think, as Chris said, you might need to give a little bit more time to really get into. But I've got a confession about that, which I'll come to later on.
Oh, you can't leave on a cliffhanger like that.
Yeah, I can.
You can and have.
So come on, Simon, what are your thoughts then?
I mean, again, like a lot of the bands we've heard, they're very good musicians, very good at what they do, putting it together. And it's almost like it's a mood piece type of band where you'd have like an art installation and this music could be playing along to it with lights and pictures and, something that someone's created along, and this is the music they want to go along with the art that they've created to you know what I mean? You'd walk into a museum or an art gallery and you'd see this thing, and the music would be playing behind it with all the lights coming and the changing of imagery and everything like that. And that's the type of thing that this sounds like to me. Having said that, I think I said before, it's just boring to me. I was bored throughout it, and it's not necessarily the band's fault. It's just I like things to sing along to, and I don't think there's anything in this where you can sing along to it. I get why people would like it, but I was just bored, and I think that's one of the biggest sins of all.
I think
for me.
No, that's the same.
Yeah, we did talk about this last time, didn't we? I think where because you're a big Tool fan, and it's really like for me, Tool and Tesseract and lots of these kind of proggy bands. You think like musically, but like musically probably there's a lot of similarities, right? But like the vocals are radically different, and the way they deal with vocals. So that's really interesting. That, and I guess that's very much like you say. That's very much in personal taste, right? It's like you want something to sing along to. I guess it's probably more how it makes you feel, right? I think Tesseract is like a thing to experience, right? Like a Dark Side of the Moon kind of thing, right? Where it's kind of this piece that you experience, right? But you're probably not going to turn it up to 11 and sing your heart out to it in the car, right? But a lot of the kind of the I guess some of the Tool, not all of the Tools, but some of the Tool stuff. Actually, there are bits in there where you can, right? There are bits in there where there are really clear bits you can have a go to in the car, right? And have a sing. I love singing stuff in the car.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, as well.
I do tend to look. I mean, like Chris was saying before, is he looks at structures of the songs because he writes songs, he plays guitar and everything like that. And I always think that if like for me it's the drummer. If the drummer like takes me, tickles me fancy from the off, and I can see myself playing the drums in that band, then I usually tend to warm to the band a lot more. And I think Chris might be the same. If he hears like certain bits of guitar where he'd think, oh, I like that bit of guitar, or I think I can play that. It sounds quite simple. It's a good riff, and you get along with it. Then you kind of get into the band and the album. It's like a way in.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Some things catch you straight away. But for me, if the drumming like hits me straight away, then I'm kind of like, oh yeah, this is all right. I can sit through this, and if I like it from there on.
The drumming on that Tesseract album is chaotic, isn't it?
It really is.
Not,
I think he's won an award for it.
Has he?
Yeah, there's been some award that he won.
Just imagine
most complex drums ever or something.
best.
Who gives out that award? Where did that award?
I can't remember. I saw it online. I have to dig it out and send it. Yeah,
proper teacher.
It's the best drummer in Tesseract award.
Best drum beat ever. I like it. Do you know we recorded a show early before we did this one, and we play Sanitarium, and it kind of hit me. I know Lars gets a massive amount of abuse for being like a terrible drummer, not good enough drummer, blah, 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 blah. But listening to his drumming on that album, and Sanitarium's a brilliant example of that. It's brilliant. Absolutely.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yep. Yeah. Completely agree.
I think the people who like to slag Lars off don't play drums.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh, they say.
And he's had to change his style. As he's got older, he's had to change his style and the way he's playing. He doesn't play certain songs the way he used to play them. Well, he's getting older. I mean, he's been doing it for 42, 43 years now.
Yeah, he's done all right.
Professionally, hasn't he?
He's done all right, hasn't he?
He's not done that bad,
the drummer in Metallica.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, he's done all right.
Did any of you see the clips from Download? Because that blew me away. I've seen Metallica. I've shot Metallica. I've on
with a camera.
With a camera. I've seen them on quite a few different things, and we know Noel used to do stuff with Metallica for their live show and stuff. He was kind of production manager and stuff. And they've always blown me away. They've always been phenomenal live. They're just like almost a machine, right? This whole thing they kind of roll out, and they're just brilliant. But if you haven't seen it, go and get the like this a bunch of different like camera shots of the first night, I think it was, and it's awful. The drumming's really, really poor, really, really poor. And it.
But is Is that him or is that the sound? If you're are they on stage?
I
with
don't
him?
know. It's
I mean, everyone has a bad night. You know, I have. I've gone out and done gigs where I'm thinking I'm fucking shocking tonight. I've not done any drum fills. I've just tried to keep it like as simple as possible. Just keep that beat, and I'm not getting into anything complex here or anything. Just try and fuck everything else off and just get through the night.
I don't know, but it's worth going and having a look, because they are a band that there are some bands that are just, I don't know, just phenomenal live. And Metallica for me have always been one of those bands, right? I wouldn't even, whenever you see people say, oh, they're crap live. I went to see them and they were crap. And you just think, oh, you're an idiot. I don't even have to hear that. I've seen them enough times with my own ears and my own eyes. I know that they're phenomenal. But that footage from Download is super weird. I mean, really, really weird. Yeah. It's worth taking a look, because they dubbed it. They overdubbed it back. Because they re-released some of those live tracks on Download, and they've clearly changed the drum tracks. Which is
well, they record every night, don't they?
Yeah,
and then they can just put drums from Thursday night over Saturday nights when they put it back on live.
I suppose. Yeah,
in some cases, bands do it live there and then. If you've got a band of 5 singers and one of them's having a bad night, then they'll play last week's track over it, so you don't know they're singing live.
That's why they play to a click track, isn't it?
Yeah, there was a big thing about Kiss about that, wasn't there?
Oh yeah,
yeah, with Kiss performing to backing tracks and stuff.
And Motley Crue.
Yeah,
we're going to do a new album. Is everyone who's excited for new Motley Crue album?
Nobody.
Not at all.
Wasn't excited for the first one, let alone the 15.
I loved those first. Like Dr. Feelgood. I think Dr. Feelgood is just one of those kind of best sleazy album. I think it's brilliant production, exactly what it should be, right? It's whether you like that style or not, but I just think it's a fantastic album. And then I don't know, like now, like Vince can't sing, Nikki Sixx isn't playing live. The guitarist isn't.
Mick Mars can't walk.
Mick Mars has been fired.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Mick Mars has done solo work, which is, I think, is really cool, right? He's doing some really cool solo work, and but the rest of Motley Crue, I don't think anyone cares anymore. It's not that no one.
Tommy Lee's an embarrassment.
Well, it's not that no one cares about Motley Crue anymore. I just think no one wants those old people to play. Do you know what I mean? That's not. You can't go singing about getting on your motorbike and going and getting 18-year-old girls when you're 80. I don't think you can do that. And no one wants to hear you.
Let's not stop the Rolling Stones.
Well, no one wants to hear you sing about your Zimmer frame, do they? So what? I don't get it.
No. Anyone that goes to see Motley Crue isn't going to want to hear a new song, are they?
Exactly.
That's exactly true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we.
Yeah. They're just going to want to hear everything from 1982 to 1985.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear anything that John Corabi ever sang on it, because it was even worse than what Vince Neil sang on.
Yeah, that's true. I like Vince.
And if there's your barometer for being miserable, well, there's your barometer for shite. Isn't it?
I always liked Corabi. He just didn't fit. I don't think he fitted. He didn't sound like Motley Crue, did it? So it was a really weird thing. But it's made me think back to we had Joe Elliott on the show way earlier back in the year, and he was saying exactly the same thing. He said you have to play to your audience, and he was really switched on. Like I said, our audience want 1987. They want Hysteria, and they want a few tracks either side of that, right? So there are some newer tracks that we think are much better, and we love to play them, so we add them in. But we know people are not paying, $40, $50, $60 a ticket when we're out there to come and listen to, these album tracks that we've done recently, right? They want that whole album. They want all of those big singles that we did in the late 80s. So that's what we give them.
Yeah.
The difference with Jack,
everyone goes all that.
They've got 5 different singers, 4 of whom can sing better than the lead singer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you ever listen to Joe Elliott, he talks about that. He's really open to that. I think he's. But they're a fantastic band. I think as well, it was interesting seeing them on tour with. I know some of the production crew are with Def Leppard, and they were messaging during that tour with Motley Crue. The way Def Leppard go about their tours and they go about their business is radically different to the way Motley Crue do theirs. It's fantastic. I love the fact that Phil Collen takes a physical, he takes his fitness instructor with him.
Wow.
And the whole beat, and then there's like him who still looks. I mean, he just looks like a man. He's just like ripped, isn't he?
Yeah.
God knows how old he is. And then you've got you've got Vince. It's not.
and then there's
yeah,
Vince.
you've got this kind of the clash of cultures, I think, between the two bands. But apparently they get on really well. So I was told. Anyway, what's going on next?
Yeah, we've gone off piece there, haven't we?
Yeah, they're the best things to do.
Definitely.
Our entire show's built on that, isn't it?
Right, so that's Chris's number one now done. So we will do Paul's and Neil's for Monster Shop's top 5. Paul, do you want to go first, Paul?
I can do. I don't mind. I've still got it written down in the wrong order. Jesus Christ. What did I put for number 5?
Off this number 5, Paul.
Time
Right.
held me grey
Okay.
and dying.
Time held me grey and dying. Ofness. So my five picks, you'll have noticed, and I mentioned this, so we're going to keep saying we mentioned it last time.
Yeah,
Try
yeah.
not to do that. But 4 of the 5 bands that I have picked are newer British bands. There's only one American band in this, and having reviewed 310 albums
Wow.
this year,
Wow.
on top of what else I've listened to, I could have given you 15 different top 5s. So I'm not saying these are my top 5 of the year. They're the top 5 I picked at
Is
the
that you
time.
saying you've
But of
is that you
this-
saying you've changed your mind since you wrote this like a month or so ago? Because I did. When I looked at my list, I was like,
Probably.
I'm not sure I wouldn't pick the same
Yeah.
5 if you asked me today.
Yeah, probably. I've had to do top 10s for 3 different sites, and they're all different. On the site I write for. Of this atmospheric black metal from South Wales, it's a debut for a band formed from members of Agrona, Blackfire, Democritus, etc., who are all South Wales bands. So I obviously have a friendship with them. I know all the musicians in them, but I also do like a bit of atmospheric black metal from time to time. I'm not a huge black metal fan, but I do like the occasional bit now and again. And this was just for me. It was a new album. It had been put together during the pandemic, and in the last couple of years, the guys are all still, well, most people are relatively young compared to me, but they are much younger than me. I could be their father for most of them, which is quite depressing. They played at Bloodstock this year. They put on a really good show, and yeah, that's my number 5. Simple as that.
I like it, and I like a bit of black metal. There you go. The production seems a bit thin, but I think that's a bit of intentional, I believe, possibly. Sounds a bit ghostly, sounds a bit... but yeah, I quite like it, and I'm going to go to see him in the summer, so I'm very happy about that also.
Oh, where are you seeing them? Where are they playing?
It's probably budgetary.
The one, sorry?
The production is probably budgetary.
Do you reckon it's not... Right. Right.
They probably haven't got that. I know these guys haven't got that much money, so it'll be what they could have got.
Need some plugins.
Yeah.
Need more plugins.
More
don't they?
plugins.
That's what everyone needs.
Yeah, I'm not saying it sounds bad. I was just saying, yeah, it does sound a bit... I don't know. I'm moving my hand, and if you're listening to this, it won't make sense.
Hand waving.
But hand waving, yeah. What do you guys think, Monster Shop?
Do you know, I quite liked it. I struggle a little bit. I don't think I understand kind of black metal, doom metal, gloom metal. It kind of all runs together for me a little bit. It's not something I would choose to. It's not an area of metal I would kind of really choose to dig into. Having said that, I did really like it. It was a little bit too gloomy in places, but I think there was a couple of tracks I really liked. There was the Endless Grey that I liked, Grains of Sand and Echoes, which really stood out to me on this. I didn't mind the production, to be honest. I thought it was all right. I think, but having said that, I think I'm reacting negatively, I think, to these kind of uber processed metal bands that are there. That kind of that Trivium sound, right, where it's just perfect, right? There's not a single thing out of place. It's absolutely perfect. It's like as loud as it can possibly be, within a hair's width of clipping. And I don't know, there's something about metal that I like. I kind of like it to sound a little bit lo-fi, if that makes sense. Or I don't want it to sound. I don't know. I don't want Bob Rock in all of my metal. I kind of want him to leave some of it alone. I don't know. For me, I quite liked it. I thought the production endeared to me a little bit, I think. But yeah, it was cool. Quite liked it.
Yeah, same for me. I think anything that sounds like it's from the woods.
You love all that, don't you?
Yeah, I like all that. Anything that sounds like it's
The Welsh Woods.
yeah, I like all that sort of stuff. Again, with me, it was the Endless Grey. That was the one for me. Fantastic. And I don't know, it's I suppose my limited understanding of the genre, but things like Opeth and things like that, I got a bit of a vibe of that sort of stuff. But a lot more like doomy and gloomy and pads and things like that. Yeah.
So here we go. I hesitate to do this because I'm pretty sure we all know what Simon thinks.
Awful. Absolutely awful. Beginning to end. In fact, I don't even understand why it's on the top 5. It wouldn't make my top 50,000. I wish you'd have had another think about it, Paul, if I'm honest, because it's horrible. It's horrible. Every single second of it, just fucking terrible.
I'll just say what you mean, mate.
I was going to say, yeah, there's some doubt in there. I think you liked a little bit of it.
There wasn't one bit of it, just shit. Every single minute of every single track, shit.
You're not a fan of this kind of thing, are you?
No, I mean, fucking hell. I'm banging me against the wall when you call it atmospheric black metal. How many fucking genres do we need? Now we've got atmospheric black
all
metal.
of them. Welsh. It's
fucking
Welsh
hell.
atmospheric black metal.
Unbelievable. Welsh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's Welsh atmospheric black metal. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Sam,
Yeah.
it's very
Well-
important. You've got to
Well,
get
like
the genre.
Wales, it's as fucking damp as Wales, isn't it?
That's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it beautiful, Wales. All the rain.
Maybe that's what the genre
Well,
should be. It
fucking
should be
rain.
called Welsh Damp.
Yeah. Welsh damp.
Welsh damp. Hey.
Atmospheric Welsh damp metal.
I'll tell him on Saturday when I see him. If they're playing.
You tell him. You tell
Send
him.
them round.
Right, Neil, you're number 5, please, pal.
Let me get my list. Hang on. Everyone loved this one, as I remember. So this is
Yes,
End,
yeah.
the Sin of Human Frailty. This is at that crossover for me with hardcore and metal. They're at the really extreme fringes of it. For me, this is kind of, I'm sure there are more extreme bands than this, but this is kind of at that edge where I like, this would represent the extreme for me of music that I kind of enjoy. But I do love hardcore. I really, really like hardcore. I think they're a super group. They've got people in there from Counterparts, Fit for an Autopsy, the Acacia Strain as well. I really like this album. The aggressiveness, the ferocity of it. It's something that I don't know. It's really interesting. Like if I was listening to this album a lot before I listened to the albums that everyone had chosen for this. And the first time we did the run through, I went off the back of that album, The Sin of Human Frailty, and then was listening to, like Paul's list down here, right? They're kind of the stuff we've just talked about from Offness. And it was really weird. I really struggled to take it on board, right? After spending like a few weeks with these kind of really extreme hardcore bands, and then you go and listen to, kind of like hard rock, if you like, or kind of, the kind of black metal stuff. It was really weird, and I didn't really struggle to take it on board. And I think the same is true, like vice versa, right? If you've been spending a lot of time with hard rock stuff and then you go and listen to End, it's incredibly extreme. Reminds me a lot of where I guess I was when I first heard bands like Napalm Death and that kind of stuff, right? So back in the 80s, I remember listening to that and just thinking, this, I don't get it, I don't understand it, and then kind of steadily learning to love it. But yeah, anyway, for me, this track this album, it's one of the best kind of those kind of crossover hardcore albums of the year. None of my metal loving friends like this stuff at all. Everybody it's just noise. I just hate it. But yeah, I just absolutely love it.
So talking of metal loving, what did you think, Paul?
No. No. It's one of the few genres that I really, really struggle with, is the kind of hardcore crossover stuff. I genuinely, it sounds like a man on the corner of the street shouting at cars as they go past.
It probably is it.
And a lot of the time, the music underneath it all is actually decent. There's some big chunky riffs and stuff, but I struggle so much with the vocals,
Gotcha, yeah.
which is ironic given the vocals from Offness. I appreciate that, but I just can't deal with hardcore and stuff. We're doing a mix daily at the moment, and we've got one of the Carl has chosen Knuckle Dust.
Oh, okay.
It's
Who were one of the
awful.
forerunners.
It's awful.
It is the worst album I have heard for about 5 years, I think. I'm really struggling with that as well. So it's one genre that I can't deal with. So I got through it all, but it was luckily that it was on while I was working, so I wasn't really.
It's
paying
only
that
about
much attention
30
to
minutes
it.
long, I think. That's the other great thing about hardcore records.
I think that's the bonus of it. Yeah.
They're all short. They're all short records, punk records, aren't they?
Oh, the version I listened to was about 3 minutes long. I could not even listen to it. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. When I spoke to Simon and Paul about setting up this podcast, and we just said, it'll be fun. All we care about, let's have some fun. And I was sat there going, I'm not having fun. Turn this shit off like crap.
Well, I mean...
and I had to... No, I just couldn't do it.
How extreme do you guys get typically? If you were to kind of...
Well, I take offence to the term extreme because I just think it's shit. It's not extreme. It's just noise. There's no. I like my black metal, so it is quite extreme. But there's just nothing.
Well, you like thrash, right? You're a big thrash.
Oh, absolutely.
But then, so like,
I am a big.
Would you go like Nuclear Assault? Right, Nuclear Assault are right on that kind of hardcore-y edge, I think, right?
Yeah, not much further actually. I like Suicidal, but that's
they're kind of.
I don't go much further.
Skate punk almost, aren't they? They were kind of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I don't do the hardcore, but that's not because I find it extreme and it upsets and hurts me. It's just shit.
No, it's not. But it is weird, isn't it? It's this. For me, it is. I can still remember back to my friend playing me Napalm Death, and just not. I was just like, what is this? I was listening to Megadeth right at the time, that kind of the big chuggy kind of Megadeth riffs, right?
Yeah,
and then listening to Napalm Death, I was just like, what? I don't get it. What is this? And it took me quite a while. And then there was a few tracks that just kind of got under my skin a little bit. And I was like, oh, I kind of quite like that. And then I saw them live. I saw them live with Carcass and Bolt Thrower and a few others. And then it's weird. It kind of, I started down this path. I was like, I'm drawn to this probably more than the kind of big chuggy riffs, right? I still really appreciated that. But it is a really like divisive, it's like a weird area. And I think all these crossover bands are all these kind of the Code Oranges and Dillinger and these kind of things where you've got big heavy riffs, but like you say, the vocals are quite spitty, they're kind of quite savage, and it's meant to sound dissonant. It's meant they're kind of trying to make something that sounds like nasty and bitter, and I don't know, that really appeals to me, but I think it turns off so many people. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's this it doesn't entice you in, you know what I mean? Not like a Metallica.
I do get annoyed with vocals or vocalists who are basically standing there going and telling me how hard they are, telling me that they're going to punch me in the face.
That's a rapper.
And it's just like, oh, get to fuck.
That's a rapper.
It's just like, yeah.
That's a rapper thing, isn't it?
But it is. It's a similar trait, and it's all like, yeah, fuck off. What about yourself, Chris? Are you in the same place as me?
Yeah, with this stuff. It's similar to when what doing Monster Shop and its predecessor show, the Doghouse, has done for me is that it's opened my eyes to this world, because otherwise I'd just be playing Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness 24 hours a day. And basically, yeah, there was bands like Norma Jean, Chelsea Grin, and obviously End, come through that they're just not on my palette of music, and it's very interesting. The thing that you say about you need a palate cleanser between listening to different styles of music. And I think we cracked that on the previous show that we just did, because Bublé is probably the palate cleanser. Some 2 or 3 Bublé Christmas songs just to set the scene.
You need that,
and then that's like the musical oatcake, and then back in.
But it's been weird watching you this year, because you've we did our top list of the year, and there's a few that you picked from in there. You picked Varials,
which are the sort of similar thing, and it's the more kind of the more aggressive, brutal end of things, which I normally quite like. Pretty Things, and yeah, and
then you like to break them.
Yeah. And just this one in particular, it's got that. It's a bit more techno-y, isn't it? It's got a bit more of that kind of industrial edge than something like Chelsea Grin, although that's got bits of it as well, and stuff like that. But no, I quite like anything that This is another thing that I don't. I'm listening to it and not quite understanding it, and I quite enjoy not knowing and enjoying it. Ignorance is bliss type stuff.
Welcome to my world. So I'm guessing Simon liked this one.
He's nodding away. I think he's listening to it now.
Yeah.
No, it's shit.
Oh, I'm gutted.
Shit. The only good thing, like you said before, it's quick, it's short, it's over. Other than that, it's just shit.
Did you get all the way through it?
Shit. Yeah, of course I did, yeah. I listened to everything all the way through. If you're going to call someone a fucking bag of shit, then I think at least you can
to listen to it all.
Yeah, exactly. So now I listen to everything, and this is it sounds like it's recorded in a warehouse. Someone's just banging on some steel drums they've just found outside, and it's close to being unlistenable, but it's shit.
I think for hardcore, it's production. For hardcore, the production's pretty good.
The worst thing is you called them a super group. You've got to be in a half decent group. You've got to come from the good group, and everyone else has got to be in a good group to form a super group. Surely that's why it's called a super
I suppose.
group.
I'm guessing you're not big fans.
Good, talented people.
To fit for an autopsy and Acacia Strain, a good
Death
Boy, they're not your thing.
You've named 4 bands. I've never heard of.
Yeah, they're. It's really interesting because I think the way End are kind of more extreme than all of the other bands that they're in. They're kind of they're very much End are one of those bands that when somebody says, "Oh, I like heavy metal." And you kind of like, oh, well, what kind of metal do you like? And they're like Five Finger Death Punch and stuff, right?
Foo Fighters and Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah. That's End is where
Queens of the Stone Age.
End is where my finger goes to say this. I like this. That's kind of that's kind of where I'd go. But I totally get that this is not for everybody or not for many. It's weird. Yeah. Do you know? There's something that always stands out to me. Actually, I interviewed Frank Turner. And I hadn't realised this is where his background was in hardcore. And it's really interesting. You can see, like now seeing his music. I mean, his music's probably not appealing to most of us, right? In this little show, but listening to his music, you can hear the hardcore influences. It's kind of very watered down and very there, but it is. You can hear the hardcore influences, and you can see it in the live show he does as well. Which I don't know. I think it's kind of like that weird thing where hardcore mixed with metal just gets a little bit more savage, but hardcore mixed with folk music or whatever. Frank,
is it he used to be in Million Dead?
Yeah. They're kind of a punk band, really. But yeah, he's
an Epitaph band, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's I don't know. I think it's interesting the influence of hardcore, but anyway, not many fans here, I don't think.
The cold End, and I wish they would.
Did you write that? Did you write that before Christmas or after Christmas?
No. Just
got it in
a
crack. Right, Paul, you're number 4.
Number 4 is MCL XXX by King Kraken, another South Wales band, another debut album, a big, heavy, stompy, biker, stoner, riffy album that came out on the 28th of January, so it's been out nearly a year. It is probably my most played album of the year, apart from Voyager. It's probably more played than Voyager, actually, because I play it a lot in the car on the CD. I just love it. It's old school hard rock, heavy metal. It ticks every box that I have from the 80s, but there's a bit of variation in there. There is some slight variation towards the end. I think Simon said that when we reviewed the album back in the first episode, I think it was.
Episode number 1.
Yeah, and we have the drummer Rich joining us next month.
Oh, great.
So
we do.
Yep.
Yeah, I like this album very much too. Just like as Paul says, it's just a very good mix. Hard rock, heavy metal, good time, rock and roll. Have a drink, throw yourself around. We said all this last time. Very good. And last time I mean episode number 1, not the failed recording. But yes, very good.
Yeah, I like it. No complaints with this one.
How boring.
Wow. There's like a little firework.
Monster Shot?
A little firework should go off somewhere, I think. Yeah, I
In his
quite
pants.
liked it. It was really hard to nail the genre. There's kind of rock and metal and thrash and it seems all over the place. There's genre switching through tracks and things, which I quite liked. Yeah, no, they were pretty cool. I think the first time, like I say, the first time we tried to do this show, I really didn't, and I think I just wrote down that it was boring and you know, I wasn't interested. But the second run through, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I like Bastard Liar and Veins, Walls of Jericho, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's certainly a band I'll probably go back to as well. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I like Walls of Jericho. It's really it's a big sound, big riffs, and just yeah, it's there's a couple of bands that we'll talk about in a minute from your list, which I think they're on their journey, if you like, or they're on a journey, or they're at a particular point of their life as musicians and as a band. But King Kraken, that one sounds really self-assured, like they know exactly who they are. And that yeah, I enjoyed that Walls of Jericho in particular.
I think
They're from
the
other
difference
bands, aren't they,
with
Paul?
Kraken is- Sorry.
Okay, so they're from some of them from other bands originally, also.
Yeah, I mean these half the band
supergroup.
are two of
Supergroup,
the
yeah.
two of the band are around my age, if not they're a little bit younger. There's a couple of them are in their 30s,
Old.
but they've all been around the scene for 20 odd years or so. So they have that experience. They've played with a lot of other bands, so they've got a confidence now, which they've got a decent bit of management behind them. So they've played a lot of gigs this year, really pushing, because probably haven't got a huge amount of time to make a lot of it. So they're really going for the opportunity, from everything like buying their own van to having their own chili sauces and that kind of thing, and their own vodka. They're going for everything that you can get in the kind of production and promotion scheme, which pisses me off because I said I don't care about chili sauce. I'd like some new music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was an easy one. So what about Neil's number?
Oh, I went with Code Orange, the above. Yeah. I love Code Orange. I've kind of they were called Code Orange Kids before. Again, in that kind of hardcore crossover area. Although I think they do, they spread more broadly than like End do, right? So they kind of had those roots in hardcore, but actually some of their tracks are just kind of straight heavy metal. Some of them are kind of more thrashy. Some of them you've almost got kind of like boy band vocals on them, and there's kind of quite a broad section of stuff that they do. Things for me on this album that I really liked. I like the change. I prefer Underneath. This one is called The Above. There's an album before called The Underneath, which is a bit harder, which is kind of more I mean kind of harder in the production and tone of it. It's kind of quite I guess a faster record, which I really, really loved that. This one's a bit softer, but it's, again, really liked it. I loved that they did a track with Billy Corgan. Did not see that coming at all. I thought it was phenomenal that track. And then they did a couple of others on the record that, again, I really loved. The Mask of Sanity Slips is kind of almost industrial. It's kind of just, I don't know, it's got this lovely kind of industrial tone to it. It was produced by the band and Steve Albini, who did Nirvana, and again, I kind of think that shows through a little bit. There's like a space, if you like, on this record. So some of the tracks towards the end of the record get I don't know. I think that the production is of a state that they, like on Underneath, it was just a big thick kind of wall of sound that hit you, right? Whereas this album's got more space, the space for the various instruments and stuff to come through. I love the experimentation that they do. I kind of love that they do stuff that is, not commercial, right? This stuff that is never going to be like super commercial. Planet Rock are never going to play some of this stuff, right?
I love it.
But then they do stuff that they there is stuff on, especially towards the later of the album that is pretty I don't know, it's pretty accessible, I think. But yeah, it's just a cool album. I again, for me, it's one of the ones that stood out over the year. Really liked it.
Chris, you must have liked it because I remember it being in your top 5 from last time.
Yeah, it's I love the Mask of Sandy Slips as a track. I actually didn't know it was Steve Albini, and it actually makes a lot of sense now, given that it has a very almost like neo-grunge industrial 90s vibe to it for me, and a lot of influence from that era of sound, if not composition, you know. And yeah, I just thought it was great. I really enjoyed it.
I think it feels a bit less gimmicky. I think the other albums, there's quite glitchy bits, and like, they do this bit where they do this kind of dead stop and then start again, which is kind of, I don't know. It some of it feels a little bit gimmicky in places on the other albums, and I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that Steve Albini's.
This one flows. It all seems to flow. I like albums that flow.
I think it's just kind of gone. What are you doing that for? Do you know what I mean? And it kind of feels like, like you mentioned, it feels like a little bit more mature. But again, it's similar with N to some of this stuff in that it's a little bit, I guess, difficult to consume initially. But I don't know. It's a funny album. It's a flow. There's bits in there that actually I think are pretty consumable.
Mm.
Well, we mentioned it last time. It's just not for me. I don't like it. It makes my skin hurt. It's just I managed to get through the album. I listened to it all, and as I think I said last time, I've got written down Splinter the Soul and The Game. They didn't hurt me. They didn't make me vomit too much, but that's the best I can say, really. Paul?
Well, this is where my confession comes in.
Oh, no.
Because after the last time that we reviewed this, where I was very scathing of it, I thought, I think I only listened to it once. I'm going to give it another play. And I've played it 7 times
Wow.
since.
Oh, wow.
And what Simon said last time resonated in that the second half of the album is really accessible in comparison to the first half.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
I still don't like the new metal vibe that lurks in there, and the track with Billy Corgan there's a big Korn feel to me in that, which is fine. I don't mind Korn at all, but it's not the kind of go-to music. But I have played this several times since we had the first podcast, and I hate to say it, it's growing on me, which is really hurting.
It's a slippery slope, my friend. You'll be down in the hardcore at front of the pit before you know it.
I did not see that.
I'm just going to stop listening to the Monster Shop, and then I'll be fine.
It's a slippery slope.
Simon?
Like I said last time, it's very early 2000 feel. I didn't like most of it, but them last 4 or 5 songs, I think the album changes, and it suddenly becomes a good album, really accessible. Like I said the last 4 or 5 songs are really good, but the stuff before that, not for me at all.
He didn't say it was shit. I'm taking that as a win.
That's a win.
Yeah, it's a win.
I would.
I would do as well. Yeah, that's the correct stance.
Getting yes.
All right, Paul, your number 3 was Empire.
Relentless by Empire. So not quite Milton Keynes. These guys are from Northampton, which isn't a million miles away if my geography is.
Cobblers.
Very good.
Okay.
This isn't a metal album. This isn't a metal album by any stretch. It's alternative. It's got a U2 vibe to it. It's very emotionally intense. It's very melancholic in a lot of places. And I know it doesn't fit with everyone, but it's an album that resonates with me. I've seen them live 3 times this year. I think I said on the last pod that they played at Steelhouse in the summer, and then 6 weeks later played down the road at Patriot, where I go a lot, where I'm one of the in-house photographers. And I had 4 friends who bought tickets on the strength of seeing them at Steelhouse to come and see them headline the show. It sold out in 2 hours, 250 people.
Wow.
And it's just an album that I think you either get or you don't, and I get it, and that's why it's my number 3.
Mm-hmm. I don't get it, but it's not one that I hate. But as you say, it's not metal, and I'm fine with listening to stuff that's not metal. And if you approach it from that, I was expecting it to be metal, especially the cover. Actually, that made me think this is going to be at least hard rock. But yeah, it's just all right. It's very middle of the road. Like I said, the singer reminds me of Neil Diamond, but Neil Diamond's a good singer. And that's as much as I could say, really. I wouldn't if they were at a festival, I wouldn't walk away. Certainly not.
Lucky them.
I thought they were all right. It's not a sound that I particularly enjoy. That kind of overproduced anthemic stadium rock almost, right? It's kind of it's like super produced, right? There's absolutely there's nothing rock and roll about it, right? There's no like kind of rough edges to it. It's super produced, super anthemic. But having said that, it's kind of classic rock, right? It feels that this kind of classic hard rock. And actually, I found myself really enjoying it. It's not something that I would ever kind of go, oh, I really want to go and listen to that, right? But forcing myself to listen to it, I really enjoyed it. I kind of sat and I found myself bobbing away to it, and it was pretty cool. I think I've written down here that I like Walking Light, Parasites, Forget Me, and Your Whole Life Slows as well. I can imagine them. I can imagine their sound and the songs just working really, really well in like a massive arena. They're kind of quite anthemic songs that they did. Yeah, again, not my kind of thing, but yeah, I thought it was really, really cool. It's a great album. They should be really pleased.
Yeah, this was one of the things I referred to earlier when I was talking about a band being on their journey. When I heard this, and there's a song "Cry Wolf" that I really loved, and it made me think. I wonder what these guys are going to sound like in 5 years. I wonder where they're going to be on their journey in 5 years, because it sounds like they're a band that are really on a trajectory. I'll say it. Someone say that for me. Trajectory. That's it. Got it. And
on the way up.
On the way up, yeah.
But like, that sort of voyage of self-discovery and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's exciting to hear where they are now, but also like what the potential is for them.
I kind of felt they were a bit out of time, out of their time, right? I think if they had, if this album and this band had been around in 1986, 1987, then there would have been this potential for them to be huge, right? But this kind of like anthemic, standard rock kind of music, it's not that super fashionable, right? So
well, I don't know. It is coming back. I mean, those Damn Crows,
that's true.
Very true.
They sell out in seconds. And,
that's true.
And it's that same kind of music, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. There's definitely there is an audience.
Do you not think? I see Paul shaking his head at me. So, do you not think it's going to even the similar ilk? No.
Well, they fit into. I mean, there's this big banner, isn't there? The new wave of classic rock, which has bands like Massive Wagons, The Crows, and Empire have been lumped in that.
Oh, really?
And I think Empire are very much left field of that. So they play all the kind of classic rock festivals like Steelhouse, Stone Dead, Love Rocks, all these kind of ones, Firebolt across the country, which have the same kind of bands touring them, for want of a better word. A bit like the Planet Rock stable, except I've never heard Empire played on Planet Rock.
No, they're not. But they play Massive Wagons, don't they? And
they play Massive Wagons. They play the Crows, Florence Black, all that kind of thing. And South Wales is a heartland of classic rock. The Patriot that I go to is basically a classic rock biker.
Yeah, right. Is there still that big classic rock thing at Ebbw Vale? We used to do a festival there, didn't we?
Yeah, that's Steelhouse.
Steelhouse,
yeah. So I think I agree with Chris. This is only their second album. They've only been together for about three or 4 years. It'll be interesting to see which direction they go in, because I think there are some bands like the Crows, for example, who are now headlining academies and things like that, who have moved up that level. Empire is still at 200, 250 clubs at the moment. So that to get to the next level, I think they'd love to be in an arena, Neil, to be honest, because the most be in an arena would be serving the Heineken at the moment.
Yeah, but with those, as long as you're serving the Heineken with those like clever glasses where it fills up from the bottom, I mean, I'd be well cool with that.
Well cool.
Well cool.
They are the coolest thing ever.
Simon?
I watched a documentary about them.
Like the glasses.
This is where if this was on the Monster Shop, I'd go down a proper rabbit hole now about where the glasses were developed, who paid for it, the maths behind it, right? So obviously the glasses, the cups are really expensive, right? Because you've got to have the little thing at the bottom which lets you fill it up.
What's that called?
Is this the Sergio ones? The Sergio glasses?
Yeah, that's it. But because you can have more, because you can serve them faster.
Oh,
They make more money. So they did this whole kind of time and motion thing where they looked at how long it takes to fill it. I think they can fill one in 3 seconds or something. So,
really?
yeah, they can sell like 3 times more amount of beer. And because of this is going down a rabbit hole already. because the amount of time you have to sell beer at like sporting events and gigs is short.
Oh, because of intervals and stuff.
Yeah, the faster you can get people buying beer, the more money the venue makes. So they're prepared to pay a little bit more for the cups.
There we go.
They should have one of them following Neil around at Bloodstock the amount of times he goes.
Can they do an equivalent for Wheeze? Because
Wheeze, you like a Wee, don't you?
I like a Wee at a festival, and it's hard because I have to have like a map of where the Wheeze are.
Honestly, we'll be walking around download, and you'll just go.
It's in a bottle.
He'll just go. He'll go. I need to go to the toilet, and we're like, okay, whatever. And then I'll go, and I'll say, well, there's one over there. And no, I don't like that one. The best one's over there. And we have to go and walk to where the best toilets are.
I don't think you wanted Neil to tell people that, did you, Chris?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm happy with that.
I threatened, the last download, I threatened to go and speak to the guy who arranges all of the toilets at festivals and to have him on the show. In fact, we're looking for people to interview, so I might bring him on. There's got to be. Yeah. They've evolved the history of festival toilets. When I first went to a Monsters of Rock, right, you were just pissing in a bowl, right, in the middle of the field. Whereas now you've got all those kind of cattle things. You've got all the face-to-face ones. I don't like them.
I quite like them because you can have a little. You have a little wink at the man opposite.
I don't like that. It's like you are in your business and you're looking straight at another man's face, and I don't like that at all.
I'm good with that. I'm quite happy. It's quite intimate.
It's too intimate, is where I'm going with that. And then there are the others when you go, when you kind of go in, and then they're like a little bit wobbly, and I don't like them at all either.
Yeah,
what I do like when Andy Copping at Download gave us special tickets, we got to go into the VIP area.
Oh, that was lovely down there.
Oh God, they were.
They
had lovely toilets.
Yeah, they were nice. And at Glastonbury, they have these ones where it's like they look like they're over a cattle grid or something. And then, but it's just like pure ammonia. It's horrible.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Anyway,
didn't see that coming, did you?
Welcome to the Monster.
I was didn't see that coming as I was staring into your eyes, having a piss.
I know. It's not good, is it? Who thought that was a good idea? I mean, no, genuinely. Do you know? I want to speak to the man about how they. The reason I want to talk to him is I heard him. He was on a clip on. It might have been Radio 2 or it was on some weird thing, and he was talking. But he talked about Download toilets,
right?
And what was brilliant about it was he said. It varies. The weather has the weather varies how much people drink, which varies how much people go to the toilet. And he said we have to predict how often we're going to empty the toilets. And he said there's a lot of maths behind it. And I just thought, that sounds really interesting. I wonder how they do it.
Yes, I'm in.
How exciting an episode would that be?
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
How often should you empty a festival toilet?
I cannot wait. So, come on, Simon. Back to Empire. What were your thoughts?
Oh God, yeah. What were we doing?
The early start's good. The first 2 songs are really good. I think we're onto a classic album here after them first 2 songs. I think after that it trails off and it becomes boring to me. Every song started to feel like the last song until then. But then the last song is actually a really good song and they pull it back round. So potential, but most of it was a bit boring for me.
Okay, so a reasonably happy man.
A third.
Okay. Right, Neil, talking of thirds, what was your third?
It was August Burns Red with Death Below. This is metalcore. Again, it's really interesting that it's still merging of hardcore with various bits of metal, but I mean, this is really accessible. I think it's kind of technical wizardry in metal. I think, and lots of these metalcore bands do this, where they're kind of quite fast and quite punchy. But they can be, I don't know, some of them are a bit happy sound. It sounds really weird, but they're a little bit happy sounding, like kind of Avenged Sevenfold and those kinds of things. They've got this kind of little kind of happy sound, and I quite like August Burns Red. They kind of seem to thread this. I don't know. They some of their tracks are a little bit happy sounding, but they do this thing where JJ Brubaker, who's the guitar player, he's a bit of a guitar-y wizard. Manages to shred over the top of these songs. There's still a melody there. And I don't know. They're a band I quite like. I'm not a massive metalcore fan. It's growing on me. There's a bunch of metalcore bands that are growing.
You liar!
Well, there's weird. If you'd have asked me probably 2 or 3 years ago, I'd said no, I don't really like metalcore, because I would have been thinking you were talking about Avenged Sevenfold, right? But there's a bunch of bands out there that I do really, really like Bury Tomorrow and Architects. There's a bunch of them actually that are kind of in that metalcore stuff, and I do really like them. So it's when that kind of like happy tone changes to something a bit darker, that kind of where you would say it's a major and minor key. like some, I think a lot of the metalcore bands play major keys. They're quite happy sounding and uplifting. I don't like that. I like it to sound. I like it a bit menacing. I like it to be, that kind of Slayer, Jeff Hanneman, the kind of down-tuned, kind of minor key stuff.
Doom or not?
Yeah, I like that, and I like the. I don't know. I just kind of I like what they do. But I did like this record. I do like August Burns Red. They're coming to the UK next year, I think. So they're a band I've never seen live. I've seen videos of them live, but yeah, it's a proper solid. Album. I think if I was doing this list now, I'd have probably swapped this out for Bury Tomorrow's album. But yeah, really cool album all the same. I quite liked it.
Chris, you're the same frame of mind, I assume?
Yeah, yeah. The thing about August Burns Red is the musicianship for me. I think the musicianship in that band is really phenomenal. I love The Cleansing. I love The Abyss. And yeah, I don't know. The thing Neil has about Avenged Sevenfold, about August Burns Red, when really emphatically, this is like the best band ever doing the best of ever, which we've had for a little while in the Monster Shop. I'm not feeling that yet. I don't get that, but what I do get is the absolute respect for this band, and their abilities and what they're able to do, and the production and the kind of performances and that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's really solid.
Paul?
Again, it got better on additional plays, but it's got that. I mean, I've got to come back to Avenged Sevenfold being metalcore.
It's not. No.
They're almost pop in some of their.
Well, yeah, that's true. That is true. They were lumped in.
You can't say Nightmare and things like that is metalcore.
No, they were lumped in with all those bands, though, weren't they? They were always kind of given that tag. It's a bit like Slipknot being given new metal tags and stuff, isn't it? I think some of these genres are a bit weird, but yeah, I don't know. It's probably me misunderstanding what metalcore actually is, if I'm honest.
I've got a word for
it. The thing for me is that this band have been around 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And so they are probably one of the forerunners of this style, which is why I don't like it, because it seems to me that so many bands today do the harsh and the clean vocals.
Yeah.
And stick to one. You've got a great clean vocal singer, let them sing. Or stick to the harsh vocals. The fact I think they've got 3 or 4 different guest vocalists on here says something to me. I like Ancestry. It's got Jesse Leach on it from Killswitch.
Yeah.
And he brings something to it which makes it stand out. And I'm not a big Killswitch fan by any stretch of the imagination. I quite like the bit of them with Howard, but I couldn't tell you the last time I listened to it. Musically, it is as intense, as ferocious as you're going to get. This is, again, very, very angry stuff. I've got a lot of respect for the fact that if they've been going 20 years, then they're obviously one of the founders of this style rather than one of the bands that have latched on for it. It's not something I would listen to very often, but I've just looked up on my phone. They're playing in Bristol on the 23rd of March. I'm not sure I'm brave enough to go down the front and take photos, but I might see if I can get a review pass and stand at the back and go and have a look at what it's all about.
They're a force live. They're really interesting. Do you know there's a bunch of those bands that have got two vocalists, haven't they? They and we were talking about this on the show going back a few months now. I think I'd been to Shoot I Prevail. I think it was.
It was, yeah.
And we were having this big conversation about the impact of Linkin Park on some of these bands, having that that mixture of vocals, right? And that's progressed, if you like, into this kind of kind of screamy vocals and the clean vocals. And but there seems to be like a group of these bands that are going now, and they're hugely successful. I have to be honest, I had not understood just how big I Prevail had gotten. Right, the first time I covered them, they were barely tiny, and then I shot them on the True Power tour, and it was massive. They were the place was rammed, and it was phenomenal. So definitely seems to be like a niche being carved out in the metal world for these mixed vocals.
I didn't like this album, but I don't have an issue with the different types of vocals in the same band. That doesn't bother me at all. But I'm not a metalcore fan, so I don't feel like I can really judge this because it's just not for me, really. It was some of the stuff that we listened to. This was a little closer to what I might like, but I didn't. So I can't really say much more than that. Really.
Got a lovely Christmas album.
I didn't know they'd been going for so long. Yes, I believe so. I didn't know they'd been going for so long. So you definitely got to doff your cap to that. That's quite impressive. But yeah, not for me. Simon.
Shit. Awful. Everything I don't like about metal is in this album. And I wrote down that they're just a copy and paste band from every other band from the last 20 years, but apparently they've been going 20 years, so maybe every band's just copied them. I've never heard of them before, so but I mean that's not really
that's not a thing.
No, not really, because I've not heard of anybody on these lists really, apart from the last few. Just awful. I hated it.
Who's your favourite metalcore band?
I don't even know what a metalcore band is. Because to me, music's just music. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. I don't really care what genre something falls in. If it's good, it's good. If it's good music, it is good music. You're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't really go on certain genres. There might one day be a black metal album I'll like. I doubt it.
So I thought you'd have.
I'll find one.
Never say never.
I thought you'd have found something in this because I think there's like we talked briefly before, but JJ Brewbreaker's guitar work I just think is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. He's a brilliant guitarist to watch, and I guess even not liking the music, like there's some bands that I just don't like the style of the music, but you kind of get something from the musicianship a little bit. So. I thought. I don't know.
I'm trying to think when I actually listen to the album or what I listened to it before, because I think what you said before was quite true. How your mind sits on certain albums is what I mean, if I heard Offness before I heard this, and anything after Offness, I would have just fucking hated. However, Offness was the last thing I listened to, so it certainly wasn't that. But it could be a little bit of that, but no. And again, if you've been in a band and you've gigged in the last 20, 30 years, you've played with a band that sound like this. You've played with, you've turned up to, an all day festival at a pub or something like that, where they've got 15 bands on. 13 of them will sound like this.
I think they're hugely influential.
Yeah. And I'm just tired of hearing this type of metal.
I think
you're also just tired.
But and again, this is something we talked about. I think after we saw Korn, down and that realization, just how influential Korn had been, how many bands just took that sound, and it's really weird because that impacted my love of Korn. Right when we saw them, I kind of went back down the Korn rabbit hole. I absolutely fell in love with the band again, right? But there'd been decades before that where I just don't care. I don't want to listen to them, right?
They were a great band live.
Yeah,
they were so good,
phenomenal. I think August Burns Red are similar. There's so many copycat bands. I think we hear them a bit less in the UK as well. I think they're much bigger in the States.
That's probably a fair point as well. Yeah. Right, so Paul, you're number 2.
Right, number 2. In contrast to Empire, this is about as rough and ready as you can actually get. Recorded live, Bones from the Skeleton Thief, the 3rd album from Blind River, who are from London. Born out of bands like Pig Iron, the Earls of Mars, etc. They feature Harry Armstrong, who's the bassist of Orange Goblin. He's the vocalist with this band. They are a ferocious live band. They're one of the best, probably my favourite live band in the last 10 years that I've seen. And I've seen a lot of bands in the last 10 years in terms of their pure energy and making you smile when you see them play. They are a true band that are all about the music. They are very much heart on the sleeves. They're all about live music. They're all about wanting people to come out and see them with a pint in their hand and just have a good time. Recorded live, as I said, no studio trickery, no click tracks, nothing like that. Just a stonking album, and they're getting better every time. Again, seasoned professionals from many years, but now coming together with a band that should be much bigger in my view. But there we go.
Well, there's time to get bigger because they are very, very, very good. I saw them at Bloodstock when they opened the Sophie that time.
Yep.
Yeah. I knew the stuff down there, but yeah, blew me away. Exactly as you said, pint in hand, foot tapping, fist raising. Really, really, really good. You know what you're going to get, and you. Monster Shop?
Yeah, same really as you guys. I really liked it. I'm a sucker for that kind of not recorded to click, not overproduced rock and roll music. Right, I kind of really like that. I kind of miss that a little bit. You know, there are bands that I guess I fell in love with, like kind of like those American sleazy rock bands, are kind of the Love Hates of the world. That were kind of they weren't playing to click track. They were just just winging it, for want of a better word, and I really loved that. And I heard a lot of that in this band. Right, they quite clearly not playing to click. There's not an overproduction in the sound. I really like some of the tracks. Out of Time, Skeleton Thief, Mind Blown as well. It kind of fell into being a little bit generic rock music in places, but actually overall, I thought it was a really, really, really cool album. I think that there's a lot of room for growth for these guys. I think it's going to be cool to see what they do next. And the next couple of albums I think will be interesting. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Chris?
I loved Out of Time and Skeleton Thief. They were the two for me on this one. I really wish that I'd have found this band when I was about 15.
You said that last time.
I absolutely love these. It's not something I'd sit and listen to and enjoy right now. For enjoyment's sake, but in terms of like appreciating what they can do and what they're about, I totally get that. But this was absolutely what I was into when I was about 15, 16, maybe a little bit before. Really, really, really good stuff.
Because you've got an album with your band Star from Ivor. You did an album called Prologue.
Yes,
which is it has that similar.
Yeah, that really.
I bet that wasn't to a click track.
Not a lot of it wasn't. No,
but I wish, and he's taken it off, boys and girls. He's taken it off social media. I've taken it off all the streaming platforms.
Yeah.
I want him to put it back on.
It's because I've redone it.
But where is it? Where is it? Point to it.
No, it's in my house. Yeah,
and you're never going to see.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not done yet. No. It's really weird. We took it, and I've like re-recorded bits and done new vocals, and because there was a bit of it that was a bit like,
Yeah.
So I've redone some vocals.
Do you know,
on it.
One of these days, I'm going to coerce one of your daughters to go and bring it to me.
It was good. I mean, we were kids. We were 18.
You look 19. So young in those in the promo pictures.
Yeah. And that was it's a hell of a band, really. a hell of a band.
Dan Baker looks like he was about 12.
Yeah.
He's really
Yeah.
tall, isn't he?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he didn't look old enough to be out without his mum and dad.
Yeah. I will send it over to you guys so I can have a listen to it.
You
Yeah.
like it. It's
Yeah.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really
And
cool.
actually, the second album we did, Circularity, which is the sort of I suppose the kind of seed for this studio we're sat in and this building we're sat in, really. The record called Circularity that Star from Ivy did second. It was all done in Wales.
It was. It was Ebervale, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did a bit of Ebervale, we did a bit of Rockfield, we did a bit over at Giant Wafer. It's a hell of an album, that is. We'll send that for you to have a listen to.
Yeah,
Yeah, please do.
Sales pitch.
I've actually got riding the law here.
Oh yeah,
do you?
yeah.
Talking about it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we did
I loved it
the
when
second
you-
album we did at Rockfield, Riding the Low. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, no, just from Awakening You Sleeping Giants has got here, part 1.
yeah. That's the newest EP. That we did that with
Right.
at Wolverhampton. We did that with Gavin Monaghan in the Magic Garden. That was great.
What happened to the Get to Know You? That's why I love that.
Yeah, in
It's cool.
in an arch in Burton on Trent. That was.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Sounds like one of Simon's Saturday nights. Talking of Simon, what's your thoughts on Blind River?
Loved this album, start to end, brilliant. Really good rock and roll feel to the band. Like you said, recorded live, you can tell it's not overproduced. And like I was saying before about drumming, I want to drum in this band. That's how you know. If they ever need a drummer, ring me up because I'll happily go and do drums for this. Just brilliant. Loved it. Loved everything about it. So that's all I've got to say on that one.
I think he did the drumming.
We've got a winner.
The drumming is really cool, actually. It's something. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really, really cool album.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's a nice loose feel to the whole thing,
yeah.
you know, and that's what I really like. So yeah.
So we all agree. We all
New Clever
agree.
as well.
Oh, have they? So we're all agreed the drumming's quite cool. So it's no good for you, Simon. Right, Neil, you've been pronging, haven't you?
I have. Prong are the best band in the world
Pronging.
ever. I love Prong. I've always loved Prong. Formed in 1986, which is the best year for metal ever. They
barren year.
barren year. I'll not have that.
That's a private joke with another club we're in.
Oh, anyway,
Hello, Carl. Hello, Robbie.
1986. I honestly, I'll stand on the grave. 1986, the best year. The best albums came out in '86. Anyway, came out of hardcore. Came out of the hardcore community in New York, where Tommy Victor was the sound guy at CBGB's, doing hardcore bands essentially. Got together with a bunch of other guys and said, we want to do something kind of a bit metal-y, a bit crossover-y. And they went down this kind of industrial route. Did Beg to Differ in 90 and Prove You Wrong in 91, which I just love both of those albums. Honestly, Prong could just shit something. I think it just shit down a microphone. And I would love it. I would absolutely love them. I love the drums. I love the fact the early albums were literally a drum machine. And again, they kind of started to carve out that industrial thing where drum machines you weren't allowed to use a drum machine in metal. And they did it and made it sound like super cool. I just love Tommy Victor's riffs. I just love there's this. I think Simon said this, that Blind River, it makes you want to go and play drums with the band, right? And I think Prong are like that for me. Like, I want to play drums with them. They make me want to pick a guitar up and play the same riffs, right? They just pull me into it. The last couple of albums haven't been like stellar. They're one of those bands that kind of always seems to hit a reasonable mark for me. They've not done a bad album, but the last couple I didn't fall in love with. But this one I absolutely did. I thought they were back on, just absolutely back on form. Non-Existence was my probably favorite track off this one. Disconnected as well. I hated the cover of Working Man. I wish they'd just not done it. I just kind of, if I could kind of cut that bit off the end. But it's Prong and they can do what they like. So anyway, that's I could gush about Prong all day.
I think,
yeah, it is. It's very good. Yeah,
I think with Prong, it's very much. I like Prong because Neil likes Prong. It's that kind of thing. I may likes them, so I like him as well. But they're very much. You know what you're going to get with Prong. You know, if you're going to put a prong album on, if they're not going to take you by surprise. Not going to do a Slipknot on you. You know, they've got their thing that they do, and they do it well. So, you know, long may it continue.
They've not changed much, have they?
I think I've just been taken to school because I didn't know it was a drum machine on Beg to Differ. I was a fan from that album.
Yeah, some of the early ones.
It was a drum machine.
Yeah, they switched in and out. So some of them have got a drum machine, some of them don't. I think Tommy tends to write on a drum machine, and then if there's a drummer around, he's like, oh yeah, you can play it. If not, they just
okay.
But yeah, it's really interesting. Some of their and you can hear it, and it's like a really clipped sound on the drumming.
Yeah.
on there. It's really
it makes sense. It makes sense when you say it. But it's never even occurred to me. I don't like it anymore.
But do you know what is brilliant? I just love the fact that Tommy Victor is. If you ever hear him, he wears his heart on his sleeve. They did an EP a couple of years ago, and he did an interview, and he was just like, "Oh, just give in. Like, we've done an EP, and you know, no one's listening to it. We're done. You know, I mean, we're not playing any music anymore. You know." And it was really interesting to see. You could see it wasn't like putting it on. He was like just genuinely, you know, not doing this anymore. And he was really upset. I love that. You know, there's not a big PR machine. There's not a big media machine behind them. It's all them. They do their merch. They do their own merch. They do all of that stuff. And I love all of that. I think I love them to pieces. I really do.
Well, they have come back with a banger, and it's from all the top 10 lists for everywhere. It's in there, isn't it? I mean, it was very close to my top 5. It's a belting album. Yeah, very much. Paul?
When I played that cover, this poster started weeping behind me.
It's awful, isn't it?
Why? Because he played it better.
Hey!
It's another band that you'll never be wanting to play in because you can't cope with a drummer. No, because they absolutely destroyed what is a pretty basic track.
It's awful, isn't it?
It is. It's a very strange choice to do, isn't it?
It was awful, and they made a really bad job of it too. It's like, just what is going on? What is happening here?
Yeah.
It's pointless.
It's not the worst Rush cover I've ever heard because Machine Head did a cover of Witch Hunt.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
And there's a lot of Rush covers around for some reason, and there's some really good Rush covers. But Prong, not a band I listen to a lot, but they're solid, they're reliable, as you said. There's probably not a bad album. They're not a band that I spend a lot of time with, but I enjoyed this album apart from the last track.
Yeah, no, I think
and that kind of made me weep.
That's a good summary, I think.
Can Simon do a good summary?
No, I loved it. Loved it beginning to end.
Yes.
Apart from the last song now. I now hate the last song because I know it's a Rush song. But I mean, I remember they were meant to be supporting Anthrax in the early 90s, Prong, and they cancelled for whatever fucking
Did that
reason.
loads.
And we got Wolfsbane.
Oh dear.
Fucking Wolfsbane. Who are shit. Yeah.
They're not.
I told you before, they fucking are. And I've seen Wolfsbane loads of times and never once gone to pay to see Wolfsbane. They were just like the band in the early 90s that turned up and supported someone because they needed, jobbing shit touring band. Oh look, Wolfsbane are here.
We're not far from Tamworth. We're not far from Tamworth, right? And that's kind of where that's the area they were from. And like everywhere here was Wolfsbane just turned up. Yeah, if you just went out into your back garden, Wolfsbane just turned up and played it.
Yeah. Well, I heard if there was a letter being opened, it turned up. So that as well.
I saw him a month ago, actually.
Shit.
Did you?
And I bet you didn't pay. I bet you didn't pay to watch. I bet they were supporting someone.
Oh,
no, I was photographing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got paid to go and do it.
What kind of photographer do you think I am? That gets paid? Bloody hell!
All right, not a good one then.
I'm gonna power your drumming, mate.
You're not that bad. But yeah, back to Prong. This album's fucking really good. Really, really good. It's just, it oozes class. doesn't it? From the first track
It does actually, yeah.
nearly the second to last track. So yeah, I loved it.
Yes, get in.
Good. Hey, you've had some good albums this year, Simon.
Yeah, the year ended well.
Okay.
I mean, let's be honest. It doesn't sound.
Started off shit.
The thing is with this, it doesn't sound like a modern record, right? There's a development of prong from their sound, but this is a and like my number one album, right? These are not modern. It's not like Sleep Token or Spirit Box or this is not a modern metal sound. This is a very much a really old band just putting out an album with a classic sound. Do you know what I mean? I think, and I love that, but it really isn't a modern sound, I don't think.
But that's exactly what you wanted, isn't it? When before you press play, you were wanting to hear what you actually heard.
Yeah,
which is really, really good, I think.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. You. I knew I was going to love. I've loved every prong album, and I knew I was going to love this, and I did. It was that simple.
Yeah, they gave you what you wanted rather than what you needed.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Jesus Christ! You started off all right. You've dived there. Paul, drum roll, and your number one, please, Paul.
Well, talking about modern metal,
yes,
this is about as far away as you can get from modern metal. Dark Parade by Cirith Ungol. I think I surprised you all last time when I told you that they formed in 1971.
Yeah. Crazy.
First album came out in 1981, I think. Frost and Fire, followed by King of the Dead. They released 4 albums up to 91, then split up and did nothing for 14 years until they were called back from the Beyond, really, by a chap called Ollie, who runs the Keep It True Festival in Germany. And if you've ever looked at the lineup of Keep It True, the average age on any one day in the stage is probably in 4 or 5 figures. They are so many old. But they reformed in 2015 to play this one-off gig, and they got Jarvis Leatherby, who's the bassist from Night Demon. He was the kind of engineer behind it all. They finally released their first album since 1991, which was Paradise Lost. They released that in 2020, and with typical timing, Forever Black came out about 3 weeks before the pandemic hit. So they were meant to be playing 2 nights at Keep It True. They were meant to be doing this massive headline tour across Europe. That all fell apart. But they've regrouped. They played a couple of gigs, a couple of Germany shows, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I didn't even know they were doing it, they dropped Dark Parade. For me, it's an album that takes me back to when I was 11, 12, when I used to listen to them, because Tim Baker's vocals haven't changed, and they're going to be real Marmite. If you don't like him, you'll probably hate this album, because the vocals are the real standout thing with them. They are so divisive, I think. But the guitar work is fantastic. Robert Jevons' drumming for a chap in his 70s, I think, is really solid. And I just really like the whole album. I've always loved this band. They're a lot of sword and sorcery. They've got album covers by Michael Whelan, who did all the Elric books, which I was big into when I was a kid. So again, it's more a trip down memory lane than something modern. But for a band that had been around so long to come out with something which grabbed so many people, I think it was amazing. But there we are.
Monster Shop.
It sounds like bottled classic metal, doesn't it? It sounds. I think it's not something that I would reach for, but there's a certain kind of classic element to this, right? There's nothing unpleasant about it. There's nothing that I thought was bad. It's probably not a style that I like that much anymore, but I actually did quite enjoy it. Love the artwork. You can tell it's Michael Whelan as soon as you kind of look at the work. And again, that kind of pulls me in. But again, it kind of sets it at that of that ilk, right, and that era. I hadn't realised as I look back through them, there's like a 25-year gap between albums. I think 91 and 2006. There's a huge gap between albums. but yeah, it is. I think if you like you say, if you like that style, it is just like classic metal. It is like, I guess classic, almost like 80s metal, isn't it? It's exactly what it sounds like. So, but yeah, it's cool. It's not an album that like appealed hugely to me, but it was yes, it's I can appreciate it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I was in the same boat really, but also the idea of it being a band that are at the end of their journey, you know, rather than a band that are in their prime. It felt to me like a band that were right in the middle of it, and really assured and really kind of know who they are and what they're doing. It was Sacrifice to me and Looking Glass. They were the two tracks.
Very confident sound.
Yeah, that's
record,
it.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And I know what you mean about the vocals. I didn't dislike the vocals, but I could understand that that might be a bit like, oh, I'm not sure about that. And I've just spotted on your notes. I knew I'd seen the name before. It's from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I knew I'd.
Oh, it's your thing. Oh, yeah.
I love some of the tracks. Really hit me actually. Distant Shadows. I love the kind of guitar riff, the chugging in that. I thought it was quite a kind of chuggy. It was very classic metal chug.
Yeah.
I thought I like that. So yeah, bits that I really liked actually.
Yeah.
I love that style. That's bang up my street. That 80s classic metal. Love it. The vocals I found a little off-putting. I didn't hate it, so you know, I can't say it's it didn't make me want to turn it off, but it did grind on me after a while. But I very much enjoyed that album. It's a winner for me. Simon?
This is as metal can be, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
If you looked up metal in the dictionary, there's a picture of this band inside it. I mean, it's not thrash, not hardcore. It's just metal.
It is, yeah.
Metal. For me, it's not great, but it certainly isn't crap. It's. I mean, and you can just sing metal. Forget the singing. You can just make your own lyrics up to this. Just play any song and just go metal, 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 all the way through the album.
It never veers off, does it?
So,
like a lot of metal bands will kind of veer off into the different genres and things, and it doesn't. It stays straight down the line.
Yeah.
It's a
metal all the way through.
Yep.
So yeah.
Right. Well, we'll go for a winner on that one as well, and we'll finish with Neil's number one.
Oh, again, I went with Overkill Scorched, and it's another album that appears in people's lists. I saw the Worship Metal guys did a top 5 Overkill albums. I think they had it listed in their top thrash albums. I saw somebody else had got a social media thread asking for the top thrash albums, and like every third post was talking about Scorched. I think the thing that hit me with this, I mean, it sounds exactly like you'd expect Overkill to sound, and that's a good thing. It was out on the same day as 72 Seasons from Metallica, which I listened to first, and then I put this on, and I kind of knew they'd released The Surgeon before, so you kind of you knew where they were going, right? You kind of knew that it was going to be like just a fast thrash album. But I just fell in love with it more than I expected to. I just absolutely love this. Bobby Blitz's voice still sounds fantastic. It's the 20th studio album, which I just think is excellent. The standout tracks, Scorched, Twist of the Wick, and The Surgeon. I love the melodies in there. I love the production of this album. For me, it's the best recent thrash album for quite a while. I just think it's an absolute masterclass in.
Similarly, I remember when this came out, and the Metallica album was the similar sort of time, the 72 Seasons, and
boring.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, it's all right, it's Metallica, they're doing their thing, and then this drops, and you were like, this is this is what that should have been. This is not necessarily, it should have been, that Metallica album should have impacted you in the way that this album did.
I think it was interesting, the energy and the enthusiasm from the Overkill crew and from this record is just, you can feel it in the record. There's just so much enthusiasm, particularly much energy.
On Scorch, that was we played that a few times on the show, haven't we? And
the Metallica record just sounds like, that'll do. Whatever. Do you know what I mean? And it's still Metallica doing their thing, and it's still great, but it's, I don't know, the energy level and the kind of almost that passion and commitment just absolutely bubble through from Overkill, and I didn't get that from the Metallica record.
So it's, I think in terms of it's kind of like a lot of your other choices for me on this, other than the Code Orange, which I adored that album. The others, I appreciate them, but they're not necessarily things that I would sit and play from top to tail.
Gotcha.
But it's great. It is. There's nothing up with it at all.
There's nothing up with it. There you go. Thanks, mate.
Put that on the poster.
PR. Put it on the marketing. It's not as shit as you think it might be.
If I recall correctly, the last track does sound a bit different as far as Overkill's concerned, doesn't it? There's a little bit something else thrown in there. It's not just balls out thrash. Yeah,
there's more melodies, I think, in this than in any other previous record. I mean, it's still very Overkill, but there are bits there where they slow down. I mean, things like Twist of the Wick, and even Surgeon's probably a quicker track, but yeah, there are bits in here where they're innovating. They're doing stuff they've never done before. And I think that their production quality is probably better than they've ever done before as well. So it is definitely Overkill. I think it's Bobby Blitz's voice, right? I think you could put Bobby Blitz on a Metallica record and it would sound like Overkill, right? He's got such a strong voice, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know. It just seems to be that they just got this absolute passion and like fire in their belly, right? That Metallica just didn't have. So yeah. But anyway, for me, easily, I'll say easily the number one album. We were asked to choose our number one album, and I chose a different album last week. So, but it is, it's up there. I think it's a phenomenal record.
It's an excellent thrash album, as it's from a heritage band, showing people how it's done. Like we spoke about the Prong, and like we spoke about with Obituary last time. Before you press play, you're hoping for something, and you press play, and you get that something, and you're very happy. It's perfect. It's brilliant. So yeah, I don't have this disdain for the Metallica that you guys have. But as a thrash album, Metallica's is not a thrash album.
No. It's not a disdain for it. I think it just. I mean, use the word boring. It's just. I don't know. It's not exciting. If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
It does. You're wrong, but yeah, it makes sense. Paul, I'm pretty sure I know what you think on Overkill.
Yeah, I love this album. I played it before 72 Seasons when they came out on the same day. There was no way this was going on second. I think this is one of their best. I mean, I know Worship Metal put it 8th out of 20, which I think was a little bit low in the list. Yeah. I'd have put it in the top 5, to be perfectly honest. But then I find Overkill are getting better with age, and their current albums actually resonate more with me. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit more room to breathe in this. Things like Wicked Place, you can hear Blitz having a bit of fun.
Yeah, great.
He sounds like he's really enjoying it. Whereas I think the difference, if we want to go into the comparison with Metallica, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of fun in that album. I can see Overkill having a really good laugh when they're making this because they are in the place that they're in. This would have been one of my top 5 if I hadn't had the lists of everyone and I wanted to be a bit of an awkward twat and put 5 different albums in for my top 5. It's definitely one of the most played albums of the year. My favourite thrash album by a country mile. As Neil said, heritage band, loved them to bits, and loved it.
Simon the Miserable One.
Not miserable on this. This is like a warm hug.
Get in. Yes.
Coming back from the past, isn't it? It's brilliant from beginning to end. If you like if you like thrash in the 80s and early 90s, then I just can't see how you don't like this album. I love Overkill. Horoscope, I think, is one of my favourite thrash albums ever. I love that album. It's just fucking great, beginning to end. I don't think it'll get any new thrash fans.
No.
But if you like thrash and you like Overkill, you can't go far wrong with this at all. But
And you're not going to lose any fans, are you? You're not going to lose any fans. From
No. And it's energy, like you said, the energy just oozing through every song.
Do you know, I think there's an energy in that. In the genre, I interviewed the Municipal Waste guys, and it was interesting talking to those guys. And there's this kind of buzz and like fizz around thrash at the moment, which like it's not been there for quite a while. It's been a genre that I think is, I don't know, not ridiculed, but not been fashionable.
No, I think that's fair. It probably was
not been fashionable, right? But we I don't know whether you got out to see this, Paul, but I went to see Anthrax on the 40th anniversary tour. I think Municipal Waste were supporting them, and it was amazing. It was the energy, and it was the energy in the crowd. Everyone was so excited. It was brilliant, and they had Anthrax had this like video at the front, and they had all these people talking about the band and stuff, and everybody was just, it was brilliant. I met up with mates from school that I'd not seen for 35 years, and everyone was reliving the days of old. It was brilliant. There just seems to be a buzz around thrash at the minute, and it's good. I like it a lot.
It is. There's lots of very good new bands at the moment. So there we go. We've done it.
Hey, again. We've done it again. Mega.
Quick, Chris, go! They're waiting for you.
Are they waiting?
They probably are actually. Be right.
There'll be a guitar. Leaning up against the door when you walk.
Yeah,
in.
that's it. Pick it up.
Yeah, go on.
There'll just be a spotlight on that guitar. Where is he?
A little sad face. Andy will be sad. To be fair, Andy will probably listen to this and he'll go, "Oh, that's where you fucking were, isn't it?"
So, there we are. The Miserable Metal Minds top 5 choices and the Monster Shop's top 5 choices. I am sure you did not agree with all of our choices, but that is very cool and that is the way it should be. Please check out and support all the bands we have mentioned in this episode. In fact, check out all the metal bands in the world. We need to keep this metal alive. Hey, not as though it's fading though, is it? We're doing quite well. We return to normal next time with guest Rich from King Kraken. Once again, thanks to Neil and Chris from the Monster Shop podcast. We highly recommend their show. It contains lots of different styles of music and lots of genres. Music both old and new. Stay metal, people, and see you next time. Ta-da!